Hello everybody, nice to be with you again. Today I would like to talk about briefly coronavirus, because this is really a big thing now, because coronavirus or the Wuhan virus has cost thousands and thousands of lives in China, in Europe and elsewhere in the world. So this is not a small thing. Now, interesting is we have to find out why it is so bad. Is it only because of this stubborn, terrible virus and no other human factor? As I mentioned in my earlier video, there's a lot of human factors in it. And that is, we have a regime, a government in Beijing, who always put highest priority on their own power, their power situation. They don't want to take any risk to lose power, but in the same time, they can take risk to lose human life. That's very interesting, and this is nothing new. Year 2002, 2003, it was SARS, right? And also cost quite a few people's life. And it was not as bad as this time, but the behavior, the pattern of behavior of the Chinese Communist regime, actually, at that time, is the same as today, only a little bit different, but principally is no big difference. I tell you why. In SARS, when they discover SARS, they kept secret. They cover up for 3 months. 3 months, that's 90 days, yeah? And until it was impossible to keep secret anymore. I think it was at the discovery in Hong Kong. Someone from mainland China came to Hong Kong and got sick, and then Hong Kong people discovered, Hong Kong medical personnel discovered that it is something unusual. And then later, you see, interesting. First they kept secret, and then when it is no longer possible to cover up, then they turn around and suddenly try to create the image that the Chinese Communist Party is the biggest hero in fighting the virus. Do you think they have changed? No. I tell you, the only difference is, in the case of SARS, they managed to keep secret for 90 days. But today, we have internet, we have social media, although all internet, all social media in China are censored. But when millions of people are sending messages, you don't manage to censor them quick enough. So some information seeped out, yeah? And that's why this time they managed only to cover up for about 60 days, I would say, yeah? I tell you why. Because on 1st of December, 2019, in the British medical journal Lancet, it was the first time published about coronavirus. And that means Chinese medical doctors, they knew about the existence of coronavirus already before that, because if it is published, yeah, on the 1st of December, they must have known it some weeks ago, right? So, but unfortunately, most government in this world, they don't read medical journals, and nobody actually even got alerted, right? And the World Health Organization said nothing. They kept secret, or they kept silent, I would say. And 8th of December, it was discovered, the so-called patient zero, which we don't know if this man was really patient zero. But up till now, we assume that he is patient zero. But still, the authority, the health authority or government of China, they still never say that this is a dangerous epidemic. They claim that it is under control and no problem. It doesn't transmit from person to person or human to human. And so all this drag on for a long time. So that means from the discovery of sometime in November 2019 all the way until the 20th of January. So you have some 60 days in between. Then the president of China and party boss, Xi Jinping, announced to the whole world and admit there is an epidemic, there is a Wuhan new coronavirus, yeah? And that virus is transmittable from human to human. That was the first time. So then, at that moment, World Health Organization still did not announce it as a global urgency. Yeah, no such things. So imagine within these 60 days, how many Chinese who were carrying such virus, who are infected, and traveling around China everywhere, from Wuhan to all parts of China and all parts of the world. Can you imagine? Millions. So this is the reason why this epidemic is spread over such a huge area. And this is why we have something like 130 countries now today have infected cases. Yeah? And because epidemic, the most efficient way we know today, before you find a vaccine, before you find any efficient medicine, is to isolate infected people. But if you don't even know that such a epidemic exists, you isolate nobody. And that was the biggest problem. Now, when it became a global catastrophe, and you guess how the Chinese Communist Party behaved, exactly like SARS. They turn around and want to be the hero. So since, if I'm not wrong, before mid-February, so in that period, they try to keep the figures of infected and the figures of the number of deaths very low, as low as, so that people still believe, yeah? And actually, it's all not true. Their figures are several times lower than reality. We know that. We know that there are many, many more people in Wuhan lost their life, and not as they claim. So that dragged on for a few weeks, and then around mid-February, that the party boss decided that everybody should go back to work because the economy is getting trouble. Now, interesting is, right after that decision, actually, the party boss said in a conference, make public, that now it's time to go back to production, although the breaking point has not been reached yet. So that means that the epidemic hasn't started to go down. And then they start pushing people to go back to work. Now, interesting is, right after they decided to push people to go back to work, then suddenly the statistic became a miracle. Then the number of new infected was very low, suddenly, and number of deaths very low. So if you believe in all these statistics, everybody will get a feeling this is now going down. And of course, normally, not every person in this world believes in what the Chinese Communist government say. But the problem is, the World Health Organization, they cooperate with Chinese government. They repeat the same thing. And because people have trust to a world organization, an organization of United Nations. So, and this guy, he was telling the world, this number one guy, he was telling the world as the boss of WHO, that he doesn't worry about situation in China because China is doing a great job, and China has managed really to bring the whole thing under control. And meanwhile, since they started to push people to go back to work, the Chinese propaganda changed to a new phase, and actually they are not only trying to, so to say, give a picture of much less death cases and so on. They actually turn around and say the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party has been extremely successful in fighting this epidemic. And they said China has set a good example for the whole world. Yeah? The whole world should learn from China. And the whole world should be thankful to China.
禁足14亿人为世界阻挡病毒，华尔街日报却至今未就亚洲病夫观点向我们道歉。中国在嘲讽中走出了一条悲壮惨烈的道路，这一次是世界欠了中国。
That is not the end of the story. What happened is, recently, I think it was the 12th of March, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, his Twitter, he tweeted that he think this virus came from America, which is nonsense. Everybody knows it started in Wuhan, and he claimed that some American military many years ago went to Wuhan and brought the virus to Wuhan. I mean, who believe it? As Donald Trump commented, he say, China knows where it comes from, and we all know where it comes from. And he also said that when I talked to Xi Jinping in the phone, I didn't get the feeling or get the impression that he claimed that this is from America. And actually, for 2 days ago, American Foreign Minister or Secretary of State Pompeo make a very clear statement that this is absolute nonsense, and that the Chinese authority, they should not, in this critical global crisis, to spend time and effort to spread such absurd rumor. In this time of the coronavirus crisis, people should work together. All countries should work together. This is a common fight, and so. And I personally, I agree, it is an absurd theory saying that the virus comes from America all of a sudden, although everybody knows that it came from Wuhan. And this is why in Chinese propaganda they stopped calling it Wuhan virus. In the beginning they did it, but now they stopped. This psychology. This is Chinese way of deception. It's incredible. So now they want to tell the whole world they are the great hero, and the whole world should thank them. I know that some people they really think that maybe this is true, and unfortunately this is not true. The Chinese Communist Party has a long history of deception. They can lie, in all sort of manner. Already, as I mentioned in my previous video, they promised Dalai Lama they will let Tibet to have a highly autonomy, and then 7 years later they sent 50,000 army into Tibet. They promised Hong Kong to have high degree of autonomy. 50 years no change, and then after 20 years they wanted to change everything. You guys all knows what happened in Hong Kong last year, right? And they promised, for example, the meditation school Falun Gong, 1999, just a few months before they started brutally persecute Falun Gong. They promised, don't worry, what you are doing, doing exercise and so on, and practicing meditation, that is absolutely fine. Don't worry, go on, feel free to do it. And then 3 months later, all end up in labor camp, jails, and torture and organ harvesting. So this is really, for me, I really feel sorry when I see that people of Europe, people of the world get cheated by this regime full of, I call them master of deception and professional liars. Thank you.